The Mile High City knows a thing or two about winning teams. Last spring, the Colorado Avalanche hoisted the Stanley Cup for the third time in franchise history. This time around, it's the Nuggets who are looking to be the ones celebrating as they take on the Miami Heat, looking for their first NBA championship. Nikola Jokic cannot wait to see what he does in the finals. The Nuggets are scheduled to be speaking in about 30 minutes, followed by the Heat around 3:30 Eastern. We got you covered here on NBA Finals Media Day. How did we get here? That is the question. Well, the Heat, they did it the hard way. Lost their first play-in game to Atlanta before beating Chicago to move on as an 8 seed. Their prize, the heavily favored Milwaukee Bucks. But Miami didn't follow the script. Led by the brilliance of Jimmy Butler, the Heat went on to shock the NBA world, beating the Bucks in 5 games, setting up an old-school matchup with the New York Knicks. Miami took some blows but delivered a bunch of their own. The Heat continued to get incredible performances from their supporting cast, guys like Caleb Martin providing Jimmy and Bam the much-needed firepower to beat a New York squad, taking us to the Eastern Conference Finals, a rematch of last year. Hey, last year had a lot of drama. This year took it to a whole new level. The Heat took a commanding 3-0 series lead. Boston fought back, but Miami not phased, dominating Game 7 and advancing to the NBA Finals. Meanwhile, the Nuggets have been all about efficiency, losing only 3 times this postseason. Round 1, they took care of Minnesota with Nikola Jokic looking absolutely unstoppable. Round 2 saw Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, but Denver was clearly the better team. Jamal Murray came alive and hasn't stopped scoring since, which leads us to the last round, and the Los Angeles Lakers, Jokic and Murray's combined brilliance, too much for LA. The Nuggets' depth, too rich, as Denver has quieted all the critics on the way to the NBA Final. Jared Greenberg covering this series. He joins us now. Jared, I want you to set the scene for us. What is Denver like right now? The city, the people, the excitement around these Nuggets being in the finals.
Bill, it is full of anticipation. Not only is it nearly 50 years in the making, but also they've had 9 days to get ready for either the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics. You can feel it here that this is an arena that tomorrow night is going to be sold out, as it has been every game throughout this playoff run. But they are ready to compete in their very first NBA Finals.
Nikola Jokic is going to be front and center in these finals. Jared, obviously his greatness has been on display all throughout these playoffs. I know you got a feature coming up on him tomorrow on the pregame show here on NBA TV. Can you give us a little preview of what he's thinking? What's his mindset going into the biggest moment of his career?
Well, if the narrative is coming into the finals that the Nuggets aren't very interesting, how about the fact that Nikola Jokic is number 3 in the NBA during this postseason run in total social media views with more than 230 million. Jokic only trails LeBron and Steph, 2 guys that most fans and members of the media find incredibly interesting. That's right, Nabil. I will sit down and talk with Jokic, not just about his on-court prowess, being arguably the best player in the game today, but also what makes him interesting and what keeps his perspective and his head on right off the court, which oftentimes is led by his new daughter that has been seen in the stands, including her encouraging Jokic to go for that ring. Those would be things that we talk about on this Nuggets team that is the second heaviest betting favorite to win an NBA Finals in the last 16 years. Only the Cavaliers back in 2018 were a heavier favorite over the Cavaliers. Only the Warriors were a heavier favorite over the Warriors that year. So this is a team that I think a lot of people are going to get to know intimately over the next 3 weeks or so, or however long this finals goes. And of course, it all starts and ends with the play of Nikola Jokic.
Cannot wait for that. Again, your feature coming up on the pregame show tomorrow. Listen, Miami making it this far, it's pretty remarkable considering, again, they started in the play-in, lost that game to Atlanta to start off the play-in. The Heat culture, we know it is a real thing. People keep doubting them, and they continue to find a way. I would have to think, Jared, their belief right now is stronger than ever.
There's no question. And I don't know if people would believe it. I don't know if I would believe it if I wasn't there. I was doing on TNT that Miami-Atlanta play-in game where Miami lost, and lost pretty convincingly at home to Atlanta, sending them to a do-or-die situation against the Chicago Bulls. And some of the things that were said to me include head coach Eric Spoelstra right before that game saying that he thinks the play-in tournament is the best innovation in the NBA in the last decade. Typically, coaches who are facing do-or-die situations wouldn't be putting a positive spin on a scenario where in other years they would just have been in the playoffs as the 7th seed. But he embraced doing it the hard way back then. That's not just something he has started saying in the playoffs, and you heard him say it often in the Eastern Conference Finals, especially after that Derek White tip-in that forced Game 7. The other conversation I had before that Atlanta play-in game was with Udonis Haslem in the Heat locker room just moments before tip-off. And I talked to Haslem about the potential, had they gone on to win that game, to go face Boston. We didn't realize that they eventually would face Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, but Haslem said, if we get in, we are a dangerous team. This is a squad you've heard it talked about over and over again. Very similar roster construction, almost the same as the team that a year ago was the #1 seed in the East. They had the 4th most injuries in the NBA. For some reason, maybe because of those injuries, they couldn't find their shooting rhythm until the postseason when they became incredibly efficient and they had role players. And this is where I think the culture that you talk about really comes in, with the player development, the trust in the system, with guys like Caleb Martin, who arguably could have been the Eastern Conference Finals most valuable player. So there is no question. There is strong belief, but it didn't just come from beating the first, second, and third best teams in the Eastern Conference. It came from an established belief that started way back in training camp with this squad.
They're a great story. Before I let you go, I should mention 3D has talked about your jacket about 4 different times now. He's very impressed with your attire today. Apparently you're a polo shirt guy usually.
Thank you.
Today you're looking nice. I gotta say it. 3D, right?
Way to go, JG. Way to go. I like that.
Well, the standard is being now lifted for you when we see you in Miami, where it'll probably be about 1,000 degrees and a million degrees.
I got brand new polos,
humidity.
baby. I got brand new polos.
Okay.
Bring a change of shirt. It's gonna be sweaty. A little hot there. Jared, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Got it.
A lot of great stuff from Jared there, and he is going to be talking about these two guys a lot. The two key figures in this series, Jimmy Butler and Nikola Jokic, and both of these guys have just been so valuable to their squads. Playoff Jimmy has produced, and Nikola Jokic is putting up numbers. I mean, they're silly now. They've kind of become silly. We're just used to seeing that here. All right, welcome into NBA Finals Media Day, officially. Nabil Kareem, 3D, Dennis Scott. We look at Nikola Jokic, and again, I said it off the top, I'm just so interested and so focused on just what he's going to be able to do. Because 30-point triple-doubles might be a normal thing in this series, considering what he can bring to the table. What are you expecting from Nikola Jokic?
Well, I expect him to be the star that he's shown us the last 3 years. And I think what Coach Spo has to figure out is, I haven't seen an animal like this before, ever. Think about this before. Spo's been to the finals all these times. He's had LeBron, he's had all these great players. But he's never faced a center who's really 0.5. So now he can go in the post, all of these moves, he put you in the blender, and he can score. Now, Coach Spo has to figure out, well, when do I double team him? Why? Because he's a willing passer. Oh, wait a minute, Spo, this is highlight. He can push the break, a simple bounce pass, you get an easy layup. They've never faced something like this. The last series, a lot of perimeter players shooting a lot of threes. Well, Joker takes his time. You're not going to double team me. You're going to disrespect me. I will take my time to one-step fadeaway. So once again, Spo, you're your coaching staff. How do I figure this out? Well, he gets to the high post. He creates more space. He moves well out the ball. And the best two players in this series, they play together. Jamal Murray's in that play. Now you got KCP shooting threes. So now as the Nuggets take their time, Coach Michael Malone is not going to let him off the hook. Look how he's attacking AD. AD is arguably one of the best defenders at his position, right? Well, AD, I'm going to put you in the pick and roll, and now they're going to share the basketball. So each clip we're showing you, he's at the high post, he's shooting threes, he's posting up. Watch how guys cut. Look at the screens. Look at communication. This is where the Heat now has to really see if the culture is ready to talk. Move your body to understanding that that guy right there, number 15, is on a totally different level. LeBron is LeBron. Steph is Steph. Well, guess what, America? This is the Joker.
He is a nightmare. Everything you showed there, right there, just makes him a nightmare offensively. And I think a lot of people are going to look at Bam Adebayo because he is a great defender. However, size-wise, he is not anywhere close to Nikola Jokic's size. If you're Spo, what's the scheme? What's the way that you can maybe counter Nikola Jokic's game?
Well, Spo, let his cat out the bag in Game 7. You're going to put some zones in there. Like when Jamal Murray's down on the floor, I expect a lot of zones. We know Jamal Murray shoots the three well. He's going to challenge Bruce Brown and KCP. Can they shoot and make the three consistently? But the bottom line with the Nuggets defense is the cutting. Talking to them, all the players, should I say, when the Joker's on the floor, you've never seen four other guys on your team cut so hard and set the good screens because they know they're going to get the basketball.
Nikola Jokic always downplays like the MVPs and the individual awards, and maybe that's true. But competitive spirit, you've been in this situation, you're a player. There's got to be some part of him that's like, okay, people have been talking about me not winning, and now getting to this point, I'm right here, that there's an extra motivation for him going into this series.
He just wants to win, and I say this when I covered the series a few years ago when they went to the 4 overtimes with Portland. Just being around him, he's not Americanized. Like, we're in America, we really want that trophy. We really want that gratification of being MVP and being the guy. He doesn't really care. He just really wants to win. Then when the season's over, he's going back to his country with his wife and his daughter and having fun and do what they do. He's not caught up in that. He really wants to be a winner. And I go back to draft night. You looked at his body. Well, the will has kicked into his body. Now you've seen his skill. I'm going to say that again. When you go back to draft night, most people thought Nurkic was going to be a better player in the big picture. But he figured out a way to take care of his body. The will kicked in. And now the skill on the court's on a whole nother level.
When you look at the Miami Heat, it just seems that every round they're counted out. Maybe the New York Knicks series, it was kind of a toss-up, but you count them out. Mm-hmm. And they continue to produce. And we talked about that Heat culture with Jared. I mean, that's a real thing. That's not just something we throw out there. The Heat culture is a real thing.
It's a real thing. Unless you're new to the NBA, please do your homework. Because when Coach Spo says we're not for everyone, he really means that. There are certain guys that have gone down to Miami. Next thing you know, they're gone. I think it was March 23rd, 22, this happened.
This is their star player right here.
Soft people would be gone. Soft people would have gotten traded. Look how Spo and Jimmy go at each other. And then Haslam. Look how Haslam's being held back. Because Haslam's been there 20-plus years. We remind people, Haslam hasn't played a meaningful minute, 5 or 6 years? But the culture, his voice on the practice floor in situations like this, next thing you know, this turned their season around, and Jimmy was short of 3 of advancing last year. Now here they are in the NBA Finals. So if people who don't understand culture, this is a prime example that has them challenge Jimmy. No, you're not coming in here messing up this culture like you might have done in Philly or might have done in Minnesota or how you left Chicago. Nah, you're not doing that here in Miami. Next thing you know, they get clicking. To your point, talk to his teammates. Well, Jimmy wants us to shoot the basketball. Where a lot of superstars, they want to take 20, 30 shots every night. We know Jimmy has to be aggressive. Well, in Game 6, Jimmy only took 10 shots. Game 7, he took 28 shots. Caleb Martin, everyone else still got their shots, and they finished out a way, or should I say they figured out a way to play that defense because they knew the Boston Celtics were going to shoot more threes and never attack the paint. That's why they advanced.
We know Denver's got a lot of rest, whereas Miami's coming into this one, carrying their momentum. Does Jimmy have enough legs? I mean, he's done so much in these playoffs. Does he have enough legs to advance this team,
I think he has enough leadership left. I think it's up to Spo and the coaching staff to figure out what the defensive scheme is. When do I implement the zone? When do I double team the Joker? Or, check this out, we talked about in our meeting, make the Joker go for 60.
Yeah.
Make him go for some crazy number because he's proven to us now he can get a triple-double any given night if you don't play the right defense on him.
It's going to be intriguing. I mean, there's so many storylines. The easy way to say it is that Denver is a heavy favorite, which they are. But you cannot count out this Miami Heat team, the NBA TV's finals. Coverage gets going from Denver, 6:30 Eastern tomorrow. Matt Weiner with the trio of Hall of Famers, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Grant Hill. How about that combination there? Pre- and post-game courtside for games 1 and 2 on NBA TV. We are waiting on the Joker, the most popular man in the room. When he gets to the podium, we'll have him for you